As those of you who know me are aware, before I was a criminal, I was a performer, a storyteller, which meant that having a sense of humor was an important part of my livelihood for many years. So at this point, in what is not a particularly funny story, I thought I would tell a couple of funny episodes. At least they were funny to me at the time. One of the other places that I worked after being released from prison was Grow Compost in central Vermont. It's a composting facility that does a really good job. They take food scraps and anything compostable from restaurants and stores and homes and turn it into top rate garden compost. And I got a job there one summer, the first summer after my release from prison. And my job was to wash the garbage totes. Basically, they're square garbage cans, those kind of squarish, upright garbage cans that have wheels, and they used them. They left them at restaurants or businesses, and they'd fill them up with food scraps, and then that would all be brought back to the facility and dumped on the compost pile. And my job was to wash the totes. And it was just a filthy, filthy job. There's no way to get around it. Um, it was, I wore slicker pants, and it was summer, so I usually didn't wear the slicker top because it was just too hot. But um, and I would put the garbage totes up on a handmade stand and then just wash them out with this power washer. And it just was, it made a mess, spraying, the insides of these things were layered with broccoli Alfredo sauce or pizza dough or old donuts or bagels or whatever. And whatever was in there inevitably got sprayed all over me. So I was covered, kind of perpetually covered in this layer of grease. Um, and one day we learned that there was going to be a school trip, a field trip, coming to grow compost for the better part of a day to look around and see how compost was made. So Scott Boffman, the owner, who was a great employer, got us all together and told us about the day and how it was going to work and kind of what was expected of us. And so we all listened. And then at the end, I said in a very deadpan, serious voice, I said, Scott, um, if you would like to teach these school children another kind of lesson, I volunteer myself. So when they're coming around, if you want to have them stop at my power washing station and tell them this is what happens, children, when you break the law. So I would suggest that you be really, really good, because otherwise you might wind up like this poor guy here in your 60s, washing garbage cans for a living. Another thing that happened there was one of the drivers was a young guy, and he had a dirty job too. He picked up the totes and emptied them out, and he would drop them off for me to wash. And we just got into joking. He would come in after I'd spent 4 hours washing just nearly 100 totes, and just finished. And he'd walk in, he'd drive in with another truckload, and I'd say, "No, no, 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 that's okay. We don't need any more today. Thank you very much." But anyway, one day. My marriage had ended in the midst of this whole experience. So after a long time being by myself, I decided I was going to go on a dating site. And so I joined one of the local, more on the dating site stuff in another post, but I joined one of the local dating sites. And so I was kind of excited about this and intrigued to see what would happen. And one day when this truck driver pulled in, he got out and I was joking with him and I said, "Hey, I joined a dating site. You want to hear my pitch?" And he knew kind of how we rolled, and so he said, "Yeah, sure, tell me your pitch." So I said, "Okay, here goes. I'm 62 years old. I just got out of prison. I owe $7.8 million in restitution. And I wash garbage cans for a living. Want to have a cup of coffee?" So he laughed and he said, "Yeah, that sounds good. I hear women like an honest man." So I could kind of tell that that maybe I was coming out of this tunnel as my sense of humor began to emerge once again. Thank you so much for listening. More soon.